Welcome to the Jungle, brought to you by Liger Partners. We're here in the Liger Studios up at 16th floor on the 7000 Central Parkway. I'm talking today with a good friend of mine, Rob Riggs. He's with a company called Code Conspirators, which is
True.
a good name.
Yeah, thanks
New
for
name.
having me. Yeah, new name. Yeah.
New name. And so tell us a little bit about Code Conspirators. What's your area of focus?
Sure. So we focus on the ROI of technology behind marketing,
Okay.
and so a lot of people are either not sure how to accomplish what they have objectives and they're not sure how to accomplish those, or they have a pretty website and it's not doing anything for them, and we bring that technology that drives either top of funnel or back of funnel, the ROI. So we started as I've run a web development shop for 15 years, to throw back to your past.
Yep. I'm a technologist. Yeah. Recovering technologist.
Sure.
And I love how you say you build websites that do things.
So yes, yeah.
Yeah. And we build pretty picture websites with you. And then we say, okay, now they need to do something. Because you shouldn't just build a pretty website.
Exactly. So the pretty website is, 20 years ago, it was, that was novel.
Yep.
But now it needs to be a tool to generate revenue. And so that's what we help do. And whether that's, from the either side of the funnel, whether it's, bringing traffic and conversion to back end, what happens next?
Yeah.
How do we, do we integrate with a ERP so that something is, an order is processed, sent to a fulfillment center, and kind of working with that back end to eliminate manual work, administrative headache, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and moving those things along. Like we're talking with a couple clients right now about lead generation, and so
Sure.
bringing those leads in are great. But if you don't have a way to respond to those leads quickly, to turn something around, those leads, they fall off.
Right.
They want a response very quickly. We expect. If I go to a website or I ask for something, I'm going to get it now.
Exactly.
I'm not going to wait on it. So if you
Thanks,
turn on a good
Amazon.
marketing campaign,
Yeah.
and your website's just sort of a pretty picture,
Sure.
yeah,
And we love Jeff Bezos, but
he's ruined the world.
Absolutely. He set expectations really high.
Yeah.
Whatever I want, I can have it within 3 hours.
Yep.
At my doorstep. And so that is no longer, you no longer have to wait for, a sales guy to get a lead and then follow up with what are you asking for?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? What would help drive your, meet your objectives? But with technology, the key is, enablement, automation, that sort of thing, without losing the personalization touch. So if you can mass personalize that content based on what somebody has expressed interest in, in the past, what I love about marketing automation, as you know, if somebody visits our site for 9 months, and then on the 9th month, they submitted a form for information. We happened that day to put out content that they're interested in. We can go back and look at all 780 points of interaction and say, oh, you're that guy.
Yeah.
And tie in really specific messaging to meet their needs.
Yeah.
So it helps our client, it helps their customers, work with our client, and then it ultimately generates revenue.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you use 9 months because
Sure.
it doesn't happen overnight, people. So
Right.
you need 21 times for someone to see that, and then finally they raise their hand. They get the trick, like they know once they ask for something, somebody's going to call them.
Right.
So watching those patterns over time and figuring out what they're doing and being okay with the fact that people are going to do a little browsing, like give them something to look at, teach them something.
Absolutely. And not every web visit is going to be a sale. We have to, it needs
know.
some nurture. Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as we hate that. But it takes some nurturing, and it's a lot of work to nurture that manually.
Yes.
But
you just absolutely can't.
Sure.
You just have to think about, the websites that are, putting a website on a diet and then putting
Right.
all the stuff on the back end and making it smart, like what you guys do with the sites, such that it becomes your best salesperson.
Absolutely. You talk about this a good bit, is, more content is not always better, and usually it's not better.
Right.
So
Better
get people.
content.
Absolutely.
Educational content. So talking about this, because this is a very interesting situation when we come in and we're talking to a firm, they're opting to bring us in because their marketing person just left, they just fired them, or their marketing person's spending a lot of money on technology.
Right.
So that's
right.
that's often they're like, they've bought all these things and we don't know what they are and do we need them all and whatever. Come on, there's just one. I just need one tool, right?
Right. We get
Come
that
on,
a lot.
Rob, one tool. Like,
And,
that's all I want.
I had this conversation Tuesday with the guy, and it was, I just need one tool to do my lead gen, and then convert the sale, and then manage the project after the close of the sale. Hold up, because you're either going to get something that tries to do it all, and it's not going to do any of it well. And you use this example a lot. So we just moved office space. We're currently going through renovation, and if we had our contractor in there and gave him one tool, it's here's a screwdriver. Good luck.
Fix the whole place.
So, right.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do you end up at Home Depot? Like you start a project.
Absolutely.
My wife and I make a bet. We're like, okay, we're doing a kitchen renovation. How many times do you think we're going to go to Home Depot? And she's like, I think we're going to go 12 times. I'm like, I think we're going 20.
Yeah.
Right. So we bet dinner or something, right? Because you keep running into that. Like who knew? Like you're doing the sink and you got to have some stupid little just one tool that you paid $20 to
absolutely
pull out the sink disposal or whatever.
It's a really specific tool. It accomplishes it, and no other tool will accomplish that need, but you can't accomplish the need without it.
Yeah. And companies that you and I typically work with, like the biggest thing I run into is I always see them overspending.
Sure.
So they're buying some really expensive piece of technology that even a Fortune 500 or Global 2000 is not going to use correctly. And it would have been better to specialize,
Absolutely.
And so there's some savings to do some custom automation on the back end.
Right. So if you can find the best of class, application that fits a specific need and marry that to another best of class tool that fits your exact need, and the trick becomes pushing the data from one to the other without any loss of the information that's going to make that tool productive.
Yeah.
And
so how do you, because I love the podcast is called Welcome to the Jungle. And when you're talking about marketing and marketing automation, it's definitely a jungle of things that you kind of have to navigate. So as you approach a company, so you go in, you have the guy that you talked to on Tuesday, and he's got, hey, I need to generate leads and all the way to the back end. Where do you decide to focus first?
To me, we want to look, so it obviously depends on what the client's biggest needs are, but to me, most of the needs can be solved with revenue. So focus kind of how are you getting business? What problems are there in that process that we can help solve with technology, so you can stop spending all of your time managing that manually and start to focus on the real problem, which is the bigger picture, I think.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
That's a smart answer. So the reason it is there's some company owners who are more operationally focused.
Yeah, sure.
So I operationally build the company. So if I'm looking at automation or whatever, I'm looking for it on the sales side, because that's where I'm struggling. So I need something that's going to kind of help me generate those leads, bring things in, because I can deliver them. And then you have companies that are very sales oriented.
Right.
And so they need the automation on the operations side.
Absolutely.
Because they can generate the sales. It's just they don't have to skin what they bring in, right?
Right.
So
you know how to take the reservation.
Yes. But people show up to the restaurant, the food's an hour late, right?
Right.
Where my food would show up at the table immediately, but no one would be there. So so they're thinking about that kind of concept of, as a founder, are you more sales focused or operations? And typically it's one or the other.
Right.
It's very rare that you find the person that does both.
You can't do everything well.
Yeah.
And that comes with, building a good team that you can trust and delegate to manage that well.
Yeah. So talking about that, so did you wake up one day and say, hey, I want to start a web development company? Or did you hang a shingle and start doing a couple of websites? And then all of a sudden you said, oh, now I have a company and I got to get people.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that. So my background is kind of in technology, but I ended up that way in a weird story. So by the age of 25, I had been through a merger and acquisition and a downsizing, and all kind of doing jobs that I had no passion about. I was just looking for a job, and I took some time and actually worked with a temp agency, just looking for jobs, temporary jobs with different companies, and explore what do I really like.
Yeah.
And everything from courier at a law firm to different things. I don't remember. So working in a warehouse. Loading trucks, that sort of thing. And I learned quickly I was not built for manual labor. And
I learned that in high school. Oh, no, college. College. It was one little segue story, but UPS lets you do the deliveries, right?
That's
and
right.
so I took one of those jobs, and I weighed like 30 pounds less than I do now and whatever. Sure. And they paid $9 an hour. I remember this because that was the most money I'd ever made. It was $9 an hour. And so that first day, that first hour, I'm like, I just made $9, right? Right. That second day, I was like, I've been doing this. I only made $9. I was like, I cannot do manual labor. But yeah, so you learned manual labor was not for you, not for me either. Yes.
Absolutely. This is why we do what we do. Right? Sit behind a desk or a microphone. Yeah. But so one of those jobs was they called me one day and said they had an internal auditor position, and in my head I'm seeing like a suit and tie and working with numbers, and I like math, cool. Yeah. So with a calculator and a spreadsheet, and you know what an internal auditor does for a clothing manufacturer? They're walking around the warehouse, crawling around in bins, counting T-shirts in boxes to make sure that the system is accurate, basically. Okay. And so that was a rude awakening. But so I found their inventory system was like a homegrown software system, and I found some bugs in like how it was calculating. We shipped out 1,800 shirts, but our system isn't calculating this correctly because this bin should have now this number of shirts. Right. And they pulled me into the IT department for a project of like correcting the system. And they found out I had kind of just a nerd background. I didn't go to school for development, but I was like writing basic programs as an 8-year-old, or whatever, on a Commodore 64.
I had an Atari 800.
Yeah, those were even better.
And Isaac doesn't even know what we're saying. So there you go. You'd put a game in on a tape, and you'd go downstairs and get dinner and come up, and then it would load.
That's
River Raid. That was an awesome game.
Were the days. Man.
And you would play for hours because it took you so long to load the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was fun. But ultimately I stayed in the IT department and worked with that homegrown system and started building software that the customer service reps would use to track their orders.
Nice.
Forecast orders, financial reporting, all of that, kind of like a mini ERP.
Yeah.
That solved that need. And the wheel started to turn. If I can do this for this company, the projects that I got most passionate about were the ones that involved kind of user experience. What can I do to make their jobs easier? Give them the data they need to help the company along. Yeah. And so this was back 2003, 2004, something like that. So the internet was around, but it was not really a thing. Yeah. And so I started as a way to fill a kind of a creative passion. Let me build a couple websites, and one person liked theirs, and then they spread me to a friend. And 15 years later, that's still doing that.
Along with some other things, because you have a couple of things that every time I run into Rob in the craziest places. So it's like, oh, you're part of that too. So you have a little serial entrepreneur going on in you. Yeah.
True. It is the shiny object syndrome that I'm emboldened to chase a thing and see if it is an opportunity. Yeah. And looking for a need. I can see a need in the area that's not getting met, and I think that's not that hard to meet that need. Right. And sometimes I figure out that there's not a situation there because it's that hard, or there's not really a market for that. Yeah. Whatever. But sometimes there's a viable market that we can succeed at something.
Go after. And the thing about the technology, what you need to consider when you're looking at marketing or technology or whatever those systems are is making sure that it's making things more efficient.
Absolutely.
That's always if it's getting in my way, there's a problem.
Or if I have to put in 200 hours to make it do this one thing
Right.
that would take me 10 hours to do manually, then
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
Yeah. So your ethos of how you kind of look at the back end and understand it, that and making that data move across, it's such an important aspect of the way that the kind of marketing rolls out and even just the systems run today. Because
Absolutely.
if you graft people incorrectly marketing wise, you then push them through sales, you push them to service, you have sort of the cradle to grave for that customer, and you need to fix like where those parts are. So for you, you've got other individuals who are out there. You're more of a techno geek,
Sure,
more of a nerd. I say those things nicely. I mean them nicely.
Admittedly.
And the more I do marketing stuff, the less I am. Like my stuff just breaks, and I'm like, I don't know. Things used to work for me, now they don't.
You just pick up the phone.
Yeah, yeah. So what has worked best for you growing your business?
To me, it's about realizing what I do well and sticking to that and delegating everything else. Because what I've figured out over the years is that I get really excited about a new project, and then I want to hand it off and say, run with it, and keep me in the loop. And I want to see things being done. I want a success story at the end of the day, but I will not do as well managing the day-to-day. 4 months in, we'll be off track somewhere.
Right.
And so I need somebody that will stay on task, keep the rest of the team on task, and be accountable for an outcome. But the details I'm going to be iffy on unless I can sit back and armchair quarterback kind of thing. Move this 2 pixels over. Like, why didn't you see this?
Right. Yeah.
But it's easy to get lost when you're in the weeds. But when I can remain objective, 30,000 foot, I can see a lot of things that and just make recommendations to accomplish the objective of our clients.
Okay. Yeah, and seeing that, staying at that 30,000 foot, it's like the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell.
Sure, yeah.
You see something no one else does because you've done it for so long. You're like, well, that's a little bit off. And if you're in it, you may not see that. So it's a great way to have that litmus test.
Absolutely.
From a marketing perspective, what's been an effective thing? Like what's been a thing that drives business for you? Is it just simply been typically referrals, or is it, some special promotion? Do you advertise somewhere? Like what brings in leads the best for you?
I try to use a blend of approaches, and it goes back to phrases you hear, like you're growing up, you hear like business phrases for that, for success. The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
And it's
that's
not
the
what
only
you know.
why I accept luck is when somebody says that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in a college classroom, and that was the first time I'd heard that phrase, like applied. And I was looking around the room, and there's 50 people. So I'm thinking like there's 49 other people here who are going to chart my destiny. So get to know as many of these people as possible. And over the years, that perspective has broadened to where I don't keep in touch with those 49 people anymore, but because they've never done anything for me.
Right.
But it's who I meet along my path every day that impacts my business, because we offer a good solution, and people have needs. They may not have that need today, but they might have it in 3 years. So you're cultivating these relationships, and every one of our big clients, I can track back to somebody I knew, which was
there's like this nucleus referral.
Absolutely.
You go back down to like this one. If you go back to the point of origin, you're like, it was that one person who referred me to this one person who referred.
Yes.
Yeah, and you kind of get there, and that's really smart advice. What you were just sharing for people who are in college. I have a daughter who's about to graduate, and she's done this sort of naturally. I don't get to take any credit for this, but it is a mistake I see with a lot of recent graduates. So they see school or college as like this thing, like let me go to accomplish this thing. Once I accomplish it, I'm going to put out my resume and I'm going to get a job.
And then peace out to the people you just spent 4 years with.
Right. And that is not how it works. So while you're in college, those are the people. Like I went to the college I went to get the job I got. Like I picked the college to get the job. And so as you people listening who may be college graduates trying to figure out how you get into marketing, whatever, you need to start doing it now. Like you don't,
Right.
that's not the next thing. Like
Yeah.
really college is about learning those things, but it's about finding those connections, finding those people that are going to give you that job when you graduate. You should really have the job when you graduate. I know lots of pressure. It's terrible, but that's
Right.
Yeah. Should already really be working it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it is, yeah. It's who you know. So there's another one. It's who you know that gets you the job.
Yeah.
But it's what you do after that. I forget how the rest of that goes.
Yeah,
but
right.
it's you got to keep that job.
Yeah, when we're doing some internship type things and stuff like that, and that's a really great way to get that experience, come in and kind of
Right.
cut your teeth, see if you like it. Like
Yeah.
you and I have actually the reverse origin stories.
Yeah.
So you kind of played around with computers. That wasn't necessarily the way you thought you were going to go. Then you ended up, more in a technology role.
Right.
I was programming computers. I went to computer camp.
Right.
I'm not kidding. Like that's what I did. Other people were out, on canoes, and I'm out programming an Apple IIe. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Winning awards on graphic artists, things which I think had a steamboat that went across the water or whatever. And then when I got the dream job, which was at IBM, I was working at IBM at the age of 18.
Yeah.
And I was taking my computer science classes. I realized, oh my gosh, I can't sit in front of a computer the rest of my life.
Right.
Like if this is what I'm going to do, then I'm already out and I'm 18, right? So that's how I ended up more on this kind of sales, marketing, relationship side of the house. So
That makes sense.
it's kind of, and I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone through the experiences of trying some stuff out and, then you convert. Yeah. So anyway, so Code Conspirators. So what's next for you? And I love the name.
So thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lying in bed at 10 o'clock one night. That was actually my wife came up with that as we were thinking about names that related to code.
Yeah.
Because that's heavily what we do.
Yeah.
But and then she is by training an attorney, and so the whole co-conspirator model was in her vocabulary, and she just added a couple letters, and I thought it was brilliant. And so we thought there's no way that's available,
And it was.
Yeah. So have to hats off to her for that. And but everybody who hears the name, who regardless of whether they know the old name or not, but it is they make positive comments. And
ours is just a litmus test on our customers. So if we
Right.
if we do the whole meeting and we get to the end and they say, so did Liger come from? We're like, it did. The movie. And if they don't say anything or they're never heard of a Liger, what's a Liger? We're like, it's okay.
we're not going to get along.
We'll make you cool. No, we'll make you cool.
Okay.
We'll make you cool. So so what are you guys? What's next? What are you working on? Is there some new projects or initiatives that you guys are rolling out?
So we part of the initiative behind Code Conspirators is that one solution doesn't meet all of our clients' needs, and so a lot of our clients are the small enterprise clients. They have budgets to do some really cool things, and the work is custom developed specifically for them because their needs are so specific.
Right.
The compliance issues or regulatory process that needs to be followed. So just for example, we're working in the financial industry, and any kind of marketing messaging has to be tracked and stored, so I can point back 3 years ago on June 19th, the website said this, but then new regulations changed.
Yeah.
We had to change this, but at this point in time, the website did meet this standard of compliance. But a lot of our clients are, and those are fun. Those clients pay the bills, but that's not why I really got into this business. And I got into this business to help small biz, mom and pop, because that's where I can really make a difference in somebody's life. This is not adding to earnings per share or a corporate fund. This is somebody taking their kids on vacation, an extra week a year, and that really motivates me. But so we the Code Conspirators brand is kind of an umbrella for YDO, which kind of focuses on enterprise, and then Market Engage, which focuses on smaller business. It's home services, so think flooring, roofing, HVAC, or personal services, fitness instructor, salon, spa, somebody who's scheduling appointments either at a location or at their location. and then professional services that are kind of small startup, that sort of thing. And so it's website/marketing on a subscription basis.
Yep.
So somebody gets into that and they're able to accomplish. They don't need $20,000 branding package. They want to pay a couple $100s for a website and something that will get leads in the door.
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying to take that. So that launched January. We got our first client shortly after. I think we have maybe 6 or 8 now that are on the platform. And so it's pretty exciting to see that starting to roll out.
Nice.
So what we see impacting that market is, it's web. Where do people go as a destination? How do we convert that? But how do we get your messaging out from SEO, but reviews and reputation management, social, all of that.
Yeah, very nice. Well, good. Well, thanks so much for joining us on Welcome to the Jungle. So, and for information on Code Conspirators, just codeconspirators.com.
Yeah, codeconspirators.com.
So if you want to make sure your website actually does something, which your website should actually do something,
it should.
Then you need to go check that out and have them do the heavy lifting so that you can kind of get through the jungle of marketing automation tools that are out there. Until next time, I've been Eric Holzclaw with Liger Partners. Make sure you visit our site, ligerpartners.com, and we can help you bring your brand and strategy to market.